Hi, my name is Andrea. I currently live in India, and this is my project. It's a personal AI financial coach, and it's called Mentally, right? Have you ever bought something online and then regretted it sometime later? Not because you didn't know any better, but because in that one moment, your thumb moved faster than your brain. Almost everyone has probably done this before, right? I know I have. My mom sure has, more than she likes to admit it. And at the end of the day, these are our financial habits, right? This idea stemmed from my mom, right? So she's very smart. She budgets. She knows exactly what she should and should not spend on. A few months ago, I started to notice something. Amazon packages and Swiggy orders just showed up and she couldn't quite explain them. They weren't huge things, just enough over and over, such that it started to add up. She's not bad with money. And she just did not have anything that stopped her in that split second before seeing something and buying it. I think that's the moment I got obsessed with. Not the budgets, not the spreadsheets, that one tiny moment right before she tapped buy, because I think that's the moment that actually mattered the most, right? Let's go on. So here's what nobody tells you about money. You know exactly what to do, and you actually doing that. Those are two completely different skills, right? We've all sat through that class or watched that video on budgeting, and that's not the problem. The problem is that no one has that knowledge with them when it's 11 p.m. at night and they're scrolling on their phone and something catches their eye. And things only get easier if you just give in and click buy, right? Now, in the past, we used to have money where we could actually hand it over. Now, that physical action of the money leaving your hand, it caused a pain in our mind. And so we would realize how much we're actually spending. Today, with digital payments, UPIs, and other financial transactions, it's much, much easier with just one tap. No friction, no pause, no second thought. And the app has gotten faster, more convenient than ever before, right? We have the knowledge, but the gap is actually implementing it, especially in the moments where we're the most vulnerable. And so the issue isn't what people know, it's in that moment right before they act. You might be wondering, what is the solution to this? And to fix this gap, I built Mentally, right? So most financial apps, they analyze the past. Mentally influences your future decision. It's not an app that shows you a graph of the money you've already spent. No, it's an AI financial coach that helps you make better financial decisions before they actually happen. So here's how it works. Firstly, you're going to connect to your bank account, right? Mentally analyzes your transaction history to understand your financial behavior, what you spend, where you tend to overspend, and those habits that you keep recurring, right? And then it uses your data, and while it maintains your privacy and everything's encrypted, so none of your data leaves anywhere, it makes sure to analyze. The AI identifies your behavioral patterns and that you may have never even noticed before, right? So maybe you spend more late at night after a stressful day or during the weekends. So it basically highlights the purchases that don't align to your financial goals that you've set. Instead of waiting until your money is already gone, what Mentally does, it steps in at the right moment, right? Before any unnecessary purchases, it gives you a roadmap on what you're doing right and places you need to improve on. Okay, it tells you beforehand what are your triggers, how do you fix them, and then it encourages you to pause and reconsider. It doesn't judge you. It asks you honest questions, like how a good friend would, right? Does this align to your financial goals, right? If you want to save for the future, if you want to save for example, an iPhone, right, in the future, I don't think this would align to that goal of yours. And finally, you have budgets and goals. They evolve over time with your spending behavior, right? This makes your financial planning adapt to your own lifestyle. It, instead of becoming like part of a spreadsheet, which makes things 10 times more complicated. Now, the idea is simple. I want to help people build better financial habits, one decision at a time. So I feel like instead of me explaining the app, it would be easier if I just share my experience. show it to you, right? So this is the UI. This is the landing page. It gives you a basic gist of what Mentally does. And let's get started, right? So you enter your name, right? You enter your email, for example, and you created an account, right? So it asks you a few important questions before we get started, like what's your monthly income, right? How much do you spend on essentials? How much do you spend on non-essentials? And then like, do you have any debt that you have to repay every month? And then you can move on. How much you have currently saved, right? So you can enter that amount, and then it asks you for your goals, right? So for example, I want an iPhone in the future, right? And I think this much is how much a usual iPhone costs in India, right? So I put that down, and then I put in a goal, a date where I would like to do this. I would like to achieve this goal, right? Say December next year. And then they ask you a few other questions, right? So how often do you buy things you didn't originally plan? Often. What situations do you spend the most? Celebrations, online sales, friends and social outings, right? What matters most? Saving, building an emergency fund, reaching your financial goals faster, maybe. And if unexpected expenses happen, I sometimes struggle, right? And you want, for me, I would like Mint to be strict on me, right? And finally, what is your biggest financial challenge? I think it would be overspending, right? And let's meet Mint. So right now, this is all fake data that I have put in. So give you a gist of how it works, right? So you have your goals, your impulse spending, your resilience score, which tells you how much you are at risk to any financial problems, your goals that you've attached, and the Mint's insights, right? Let's start. You can connect your wallet, right? So it allows you to connect to your bank account, and you can start without a phone number. You enter the bank, for example, and it takes you to a login page where you can log in with all your financial details. Right now, let's exit and let me show you. So right now, it will, if you had it connected, it would show you your food, your groceries, your transport, where all your financial transactions, all the history will be logged in. It shows you your behavioral insights, right? So a goal chaser, right? You know what you want and you're trying to chase it. That's the type of spender I am, right? For example, spending triggers, it gives you a daily pattern, right? It shows you your goals and how close you are to achieve it. Right now, we just started, so obviously it's 0%. Finally, it gives you like a daily reflection. This is an optional feature, but if you could do this, it could add more insights when it coaches you. So if you say, how can I save more, for example, right? This is your AI coach. It will tell you exactly what are the action steps. What are you doing wrong? How do you fix that? Okay, let's continue. Um, so that was the live demonstration. And then comes the, okay, next is your impact and your future scope, right? So this is Mentally Today, a coach that helps you make better financial decisions before they happen. I want to introduce more features like spending trigger warnings before any impulse purchases on the buying apps, as well as daily financial trackers, which helps you see the goals, how close you are to achieving them, and ensures that individuals are consistent to ensuring that you reach your daily budget, right? And then sometimes it will transfer some of this money into your financial goals and your long-term wealth as an option that you have so that you get much closer to reaching that goal. And under it all, the biggest goal that I have is to help people who actually need it the most. Usually, individuals who are starting out on their money journey, on their financial planning journey, right? This helps them to build good financial habits from day one so that poor spending habits don't become a lifelong habit, right? And so, to conclude, every generation, technology has made things 10 times easier, right? Today, spending has become extremely easy. It's too easy to swipe, it's too easy to tap, it's too easy to just not think twice, right? Now the problem isn't usually one expensive purchase. It has been those hundreds of tiny decisions you make that quietly shape your financial future. Now, I don't think the answer is asking people to want less, right? I think the answer is asking people to pause, being mindful about their purchases, and this helps them make better decisions in the moments that actually matter the most. And that's exactly how Mentally lives. It's not in the spreadsheets, it's not in those expense trackers, it's in that 1 second before that decision becomes a habit. And I believe that 1 second, that pause, is what changes everything. because a decision becomes a habit, and that habit becomes your financial future, right? Thank you.